And we're back for another Friday check-in. Hey, 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 this is Dr. Dwain Woode, and I'm just so excited that you're here. Ah, man, this has been a week. This has been an interesting week. If you've been with us, you've seen how the week has gone, and just excited to be here to hang out with you as we move into the space of reversing our diabetes using fasting. And here we are to do a check-in, and we're here to do a review of the fasting process, that amazing tool that we're using to reverse our diabetes, to improve our metabolic health, and to help us get off of medications, lose weight, deal with all of those associated metabolic issues that we run into. And this is the place for it. So glad that you're here. As I said, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E if you're new to me. The E stands for endocrinology. Here on the channel, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you. We're talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to improve their metabolic health, who want to reverse their diabetes, get off of medication, and to help with their metabolism. Hey, if you're new, go ahead and put new in the comments because we'd love to welcome you with a hand clap and some music and let you know that we are happy that you're here. If you've got questions as we go throughout the show tonight or today, go ahead and drop those in the chat because we'd love to get them. And put a Q in front of it because that will help me as I'm looking through the comments to know that this is a question that you have. As you guys see, we are a little early today compared to our normal time. And as I mentioned, we've got some things going on later today and tomorrow. And so wanted to make sure that we get this in because this is so important. This is so important. We'll tell you all about what's been going on the last several hours, last 12 hours actually, as we get ready for this weekend. But glad that we're here in this space as we discover, as we explain, as we dive deeper into fasting as one of those amazing tools that we're using to put ourselves in remission. So wherever you are joining us from, whatever platform you're on, we welcome you. If you are on Instagram, if you are on LinkedIn, Twitch, YouTube, of course, here, and Facebook, right, are the platforms that we're going to. If you've been on X, formerly called Twitter, you know that we're not there. They've changed some of how they do things. But come on over. We're excited that you are here. If you know someone who's there, has been looking for us, tell them that this is the place where they can come and they can join us and be excited and set themselves up for success. I do see one of our community members out there. I do see Steve. Hey, Steve, how you doing? Thanks for coming through and hanging out with us. Steve has been an ardent supporter and a very, very engaged community member and is having amazing success in his own journey as we walk through this new year, new you, right? That new year, new you process. So let's go ahead. Well, before I do that, let me just remind you, if you've not already done so, in our fasting process, we've been talking lots of different things, and we just started a new mini series within the fasting called the Science of Hunger. The Science of Hunger, and we have 4 episodes that we've done so far. One yesterday, the one before, and then last week we did a few. The one most recent one is the one that we did yesterday, which was how fat helps with hunger. How fat helps with hunger. So we walk through proteins and ketones and fat. Next time we come back, we're going to talk about how to overcome some of that. And then we're going to talk about the role of fiber in helping to manage appetite as well. So make sure that you get back. We've created a playlist that's out there that you can get to, and it is actually called the Science of Hunger. So make sure that you get over there and watch it. But as we are in this space and we're talking about fasting, right? If you're new to us, if you're out there, or even if you've been with us, just to remind you, why are we talking about fasting? Fasting is an amazing tool that we've learned. It is a tool that we've learned in the process of improving our metabolic health. Notice that I said it is a tool. And if you've been with us, you know that we've learned several tools. We've learned emotional intelligence. We've talked about the heat model, which we'll talk again about later in this show. We talked about we learned the COPE model, right? So clarify, observe, pause, and execute. That is a series of steps. That is a mechanism that we're using to actually combat the things that happen to us in the heat model, those triggers that throw us off of our plan, off of our meal, off of our diet. So that is several tools. And fasting is one of those tools that we've been using in that process. And because fasting is such an amazing tool, I have been doing a fast every week, right? I do a 72-hour fast once a week. Well, sometimes I've actually gone longer than 72 hours. I think the longest we've done here with you is 106 hours 1 week. But every week we do a fast, and we come on the show, and we talk about how I'm doing, so that you could see where things are, what my blood sugars are, how I'm feeling. We do a check-in, which I'll do here in a minute, and then actually look at some numbers, and then walk through the process of preparing for the fast, getting into and through the fast, and then also getting out of the fast. Okay, how do we break the fast? Because each component is very important. We'll come back, we'll talk more about that in a minute. But anytime you are doing anything, anytime you are looking to improve, anytime you're working on improving yourself or putting a process in place, you want to make sure that you're evaluating and checking in to make sure that the things are going the way you expect. In this case, we want to check in with ourselves as we're fasting to make sure that we are to see how our body is, how our mentation is. And we'll talk here about the 3 steps, the 3 phases of it. So you want to make sure you're doing that. So our purpose is to help you fast successfully. So how to fast successfully. That's the purpose. We're using fasting as a tool in reversing diabetes. So on our Dwain Woode MD Live, we've been talking about the path, the New Year, New You path of reversing diabetes. On that path, a tool that we've learned is fasting. And this show and these check-ins that we do are with the intention of helping you to be able to fast successfully. One point that I do want to make is that even though I'm talking to diabetics, I'm talking to adults with type 2 diabetes who want to reverse their diabetes, who want to improve their metabolic health. And you hear what I said. There are people who are not diabetic who are wondering, does this work for me as well? And the answer is a resounding yes. If you are struggling with metabolic disease, and remember, I talked about some of those, and this is just a small list. We're talking about high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart disease, strokes, peripheral artery disease is another one that we can throw in there, polycystic ovarian syndrome, metabolic syndrome, obesity. All of those are metabolic diseases. And because they're metabolic diseases, they will improve with things that improve metabolic diseases. Diabetes is the prototypic. It is the giant. It is the granddaddy of metabolic diseases. And so if we can find tools that will treat diabetes, then those same tools can be applied to other metabolic diseases as well. And so if you're asking, does fasting work for me with my blood pressure? The answer is yes. Does fasting work for me with my high cholesterol? The answer is yes. Does fasting work for me with my inflammatory issues, my diseases? The answer is yes. Does fasting work for me to lose weight? The answer is a resounding yes. Right? Because you guys have watched me on my journey with weight. So we can take fasting, and we're talking about it here in this space, in the diabetes space, but we can expand that across the board. And as I was saying in the beginning, when we're looking at fasting, when we're looking at diabetes, all the other improvements in this space, they're just side effects. The fact that your blood pressure went down, that's a side effect. The fact that your cholesterol is better, that's a side effect. The fact that you have lost weight, that is a side effect of what we're doing. But we can easily change the show. We can easily change the process. We can easily change the journey and the pathway to talk about, okay, this now is a show about losing weight. And one of the tools that we're using is fasting. This now is a show about improving cholesterol. And one of the tools that we're using is fasting. This show is now about polycystic ovarian syndrome or metabolic syndrome. And the tool we're using is fasting. Easily transferable. So if you're out there and you're saying, okay, I'm not diabetic, oh yeah, don't go away, because these principles are universal. We can apply them across the board as we are improving our metabolic health. Okay, so we'll talk more about that. All right. So we're gonna do a check-in. And I am. If you remember yesterday, I said that I had to cook some stuff. Yeah, and so I was doing the smoker and doing all this stuff, and didn't have to, but I tasted the rub. Right, got it on the chicken, put it in the smoker, tasted the rub. Right, so you'll see a little spike in my blood sugar. Right, that was the taste of the rub. And so at the time, that was what, maybe 3 o'clock this morning? What was I doing up? So let's see, 50 plus about 56 hours, right? When I did that. And so I have not had anything else to eat. So we'll see and I haven't checked my ketones. Right? I haven't checked my ketones. We'll check to see what that does. And so you guys will get to see in real time what something like that does to blood sugar and what it also does to ketones. Okay? And that is, as we've talked in this space about how do we fit what we're doing into life. We'll talk more about that. That's a perfect example. Okay? All right. So let's check in. So once again, 50 solid hours of fasting. We tasted the rub on the chicken. That was, whatever amount of time that took. And so since then, I've not eaten again. That was about 3-ish this morning. And so we're +6 plus 9. So I said 56 plus 9. How much is that? Somebody out there. 65 hours is where we are. And we're going early because we've got some stuff later on to do. So as you see, once again, right, fitting fasting, fitting the tools into life. And we'll see what that does. I'm interested to see what the ketones are. All right. Let's see. All right, before we do that, I do want to see. So Steve is out there, and Steve says he is breaking his fast, beef jerky that I made, and avocado. Yeah, so Steve, I think you mentioned that you eat avocado almost every day. Is that right? I love that. I love avocado, and that probably is a good practice, to be honest. To add that, because we talked about fats, right? So last night we talked on our show, last episode, we talked about how fats help with satiety, how they help to blunt hunger and so forth, and also help decrease the absorption of carbohydrates. All right, and then so let's see Jennifer. Hey Jennifer, how are you? So Jennifer's saying howdy. Steve says, oh yeah. So Steve is saying yes to the avocado. And as we're going through the show, make sure that you jump in, ask questions. We'll get to those as we move through. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at blood sugar. And this is what my Freestyle Libre is saying right now. You'll see this is the last 12 hours probably, roughly the last 12 hours. And you'll see there coming into maybe midnight or a little after midnight, we were below 100. And that spike there right about 3:30, 4 o'clock. That's where we tasted that rub. And then came back down and then squiggly. So and right now it's 88. So let's go ahead and let me take a look and see what the Dexcom is saying. So we can get a better look of this on the Dexcom because I can actually see what the numbers were or are. And so right there coming into, it was 102, 107, 106, so 2:30. So right there about 3 o'clock. Notice that, right? So we were 107-ish, and then right about 3 o'clock we started jumping up, and we got up to 129. And so my mistake there was, I shouldn't say a mistake, right? Because remember we talked about what I was going to do. I wasn't sure what I was going to do in terms of the cooking. And what I did was I seasoned the chicken, and the rub that I used um, had of course brown sugar, right? So that's what you're seeing. That's what you're seeing there. And so we kind of have been in the 120s, 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 got up to 127, and then started coming down to where we are right now at 112. Okay, so that's blood sugar. Let's go ahead and let's see what these guys are showing. And so you'll see there, I've got my Keto Mojo and my contour. Let's go ahead and grab the contour strip, get that in, and then open up the strips for the Keto Mojo. So this one is glucose, that's the brown one, and then the other one is that's my ketone strip. Go ahead and grab that out, get that in, and I'm going to go ahead like I normally do and open up the ketone one as well. And just leave that off to the side. Grab my handy dandy trusty container and a lancet. And then get that one off. And when I twist that off, you'll see right there, you may be able to see a little needle, right? And then get a little poke. And I think someone asked last night whether that hurts, and the answer is it hurts a little bit. Okay, so go ahead and get that started. The fine ones actually hurt more than the big ones. You would expect the opposite, but yeah, at least that's what I found, and that's what patients have told me as well. So when I check my finger with a big one, so 75 with the Keto Mojo and 89 with the contour, and then let's go ahead and get the test strip for the ketone in there, and then get a drop of blood and get that started. So we'll be interested to see what that is here in a little while. Okay? All right. So with that set up, and we'll come back to that. With that set up, let's go ahead and let's talk about fasting. Let's talk about fasting. And as we fast, so Steve is guessing 1.7. Okay, I love that, Steve. I love that. As we fast, one of the points that I always make is that, oh, well, sorry, we didn't do our check-in. Let me do that. Let's hop over there now. So check-in. So places that people will have difficulty is with how they feel physically, mentally, and emotionally. And the point I was about to make actually was that fasting is not just a abstinence from food. It's not just, hey, I didn't eat anything. But there is mental, physical, emotional stuff that goes on, okay? And so checking in with yourself to make sure that you are doing well to get through a fast is very important. And so in the check-in, what I'm sharing with you is how I'm feeling in my fast. And so often when we talk about physical, people said they feel drained, they feel sluggish, they feel like their energy is gone, they feel like they've hit a wall. And I'm not feeling any of that necessarily. I can tell that I went to bed late, right? Because I was up, got the smoker going last night, and it was a new smoker, so I got it out, got the meat seasoned, got it into the smoker, and then, yeah, okay. Of course, I fell asleep. And the stuff, it looks good. Haven't really tasted it per se. So we'll see here in a little while when I actually get to bite into it. All right, but physically feeling pretty good. I'm not feeling lightheaded, dizzy, sweaty. I'm not feeling palpitations, any of those things that people also associate with low blood sugar. Now, one of the places that people will have issues is if they are on medication that is for diabetes, because the medication is continuing to lower their blood sugar. And so they may have symptoms, those symptoms I just described, not necessarily because of the fasting, but because their blood sugars are continuing to go down because of medication. So that's why it's important to also be in contact with your healthcare providers so that you can adjust medication. And then mentally, I'm actually feeling pretty good. I'm excited because I'm getting ready to eat some. Well, not getting ready. I'm going to be eating some chicken and some things that I made in the smoker. Right. So I've just have I said enough? Have I said smoker enough? Okay, I won't say anymore. But you can tell I'm excited about it. But when you talk about your mental capacity, ability, that will go along with the physical. Because if you're tired, then your mentation also is not quite there. But I'm not feeling sluggish, and I'm not feeling foggy-headed. And then emotionally, I'm feeling pretty good, right? Once again, having some company over, getting ready for that, and yeah, just can't say enough about that. So feeling excited. In the emotional, sometimes if people, once again, don't do a good job of resting, they're in some stressful environment, they become irritable, right? Become irritable. You've probably known people who are on a diet and they're cutting back on carbs, or even people who are fasting. And I think I mentioned early on, one of my team members said she could tell when I was fasting. Right, so I've gotten used to it now, so that's not a big issue. All right. So that's it. So that's the check-in. So make sure that you are checking in with yourself as you're going through the fast. And so when I talk about fasting, remember fasting is simply a tool that we're using. And so how do we fast successfully? I typically break fasting into several components, and they are one, preparing for the fast, two, actually fasting successfully, and then three, breaking the fast. Each component is just as important as the other. If you don't do one well, then that sets you up for difficulty and sets you up for not just difficulty for this fast, but remember your brain will remember what this fast was like, and it may not let you fast again because the brain does not like to have difficulty, right? So it wants to do things that will set you up for success, and for success, one of the things that that the brain wants to do is it wants to make sure that what you're telling it and what it's experiencing are the same. So if you do a poor job of this fast, the brain will remember it and it will make it more difficult for you to fast in the future. Right? Because the brain it doesn't want to do things that don't work. Right? It wants to do things that are going to be successful. So making sure that you're doing the fast well and getting through the fast and breaking the fast and all that, very, very, very important. Okay? All right. So we're going to talk about preparing for so a successful fast is, right, preparing for the fast, getting into the fast and getting through the fast successfully, and then, of course, breaking the fast properly. Right, so those are the three phases. So one, let's go ahead and let's start talking about preparing for the fast. And the first question that we want to ask when we're talking about preparing for the fast is, why do we need to prepare for the fast? What does that really mean? Right. So the why of preparing for the fast is that when we're fasting, it's not just physical. When we're fasting, it is mental, it is emotional, it is social, right? It's not just abstaining from food. And so when we're fasting, preparing for the fast gets the body ready, it gets the mind ready, it reduces the shock that you may feel, particularly if you are doing, particularly if you're new to fasting, and then if you are not used to fasting, if you're new to fasting, definitely, and then if you're doing one of the extended fasts. So remember when we talked about fasting, we did a show where we talked about the different time frames of fasting. We did a show where we talked about the different diseases that fasting has been shown to be effective in helping. So you can go back and look at those. But 16-8 or 12-12 or 5 and 2, 1 meal a day, any of those, as you're getting into the longer fast, you want to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. Now, I'm saying that, but even as you do some of the shorter fasts, if you're doing an intermittent fasting and you're doing a 16-8 or a 12-12 and you're not preparing, then that can also be difficult, because if you are fasting during a time when the family is doing some function that revolves around food, then that's going to be difficult. I was talking to someone yesterday who they begin their fasting at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and the family sits down to eat at 5. And so the question I asked was, how is that working? Is that going to be successful? Is that going to help you long term do what you need to do in terms of fasting? Because automatically there's some conflict, right? There's friction right there. Either you're feeling left out and there's difficulty with you and your spouse, your significant other, because you're off somewhere when everybody's sitting down to eat, or you're going to break the fast because we want to be in community. And when we break the fast, now we feel guilty, and we have all those negative things that come from that, the inner critic, and then we eat again. And so we get into that cycle. Okay, so preparing for the fast, very important, very important. Minimizes when we prepare for the fast, it minimizes some of the common side effects like fatigue, headache, irritability, like I just mentioned, right? You know, people who are fasting, people who have cut back on carbs, people who are on a diet, and they're very irritable. Why? Because they are not well prepared yet, or their body hasn't gotten used to what they're doing. So if we're preparing, and we'll talk more about preparing mentally, physically, emotionally, socially, and so forth in a minute. So this is what preparation does. When we prepare, it helps us maintain focus on our purpose and our goal. Because if we are going into the fast with a clear understanding of where we're going, how long we're going to fast, the reason for the fast, remember that why, then that gives us a push when things may become difficult. That gives us some lift. It gives us some vision of where we're heading. Okay, so all of those. So mental preparation. So one, we preparing for the fast. That's what it does. And so one, we want to talk about mental preparation. So in terms of mental preparation, you want to set clear goals. You want to understand the why. What is the reason? Why am I doing this? If I don't understand the why, then when things may become challenging, then it's less easy for us to make it through, because we don't understand the why. Okay? Because we've not set clear goals and we don't quite understand why we're doing this. Why are we fasting? Is this fasting for reversing diabetes? Is this fasting for just general health improvement? Is it a weight loss issue? Is it a blood pressure, blood sugar? What is the reason that I'm fasting? So understanding that, setting clear goals, very important. And then in mental preparation, visualization is important. If you can visualize it, then you have a better grasp of how to get there. The brain, oh man, I love this. Listen to this. The brain is an amazing machine. It has the ability to create within your sphere, within your space, the things that support what you're telling it. So if you say, well, I am no good at whatever that is. You pick your thing, right? I'm no good at that. I'm no good at writing. I'm no good at playing basketball. I'm no good at talking. I'm no good at networking. Whatever it is. Pick something. I'm no good at losing weight. If you continually tell yourself that, then the brain will find every opportunity where that becomes true. And it will put you in situations where it is proven to be true. And so that the inner critic has a constant drone of you can't do that. You're not good at that. That never works out. On the other hand, though, if we can visualize it, what does it look like when I'm successful? What does it look like when I lose weight? What does it look like? What does it feel like when my A1C has come down? What does it look like when I get off of those diabetes medications? What does it feel like? What are the sounds? What do I look like when I lose weight? Right? So visualize that. When you can imagine it, the brain now has something and it is looking around to find ways to make that come true. Amazing machine, the brain. So visualize it. And then educate yourself. So there are lots of different fasting methods that are shorter, longer, you know, as I go through this, right? So 12 and 12, 16-8, 18-6, 1 meal a day, which is basically a 24-hour fast. 1 meal a day, alternate day eating, time restricted eating. There is 5 and 2 and 24 hours, 72 hours, 96 hours, whatever the fasting space is that you're going to land on for the reason that you're going to land on it. Go ahead and research it, educate yourself on it, so that it is something that becomes a part of you. Because remember, we're not just trying to do something that we're going to do for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month or a year. We're working on how do we change our process? How do we improve the things that we do? How do we change the journey that we're on by putting things in place that help us to be successful? Because often it is not that people don't have drive, they don't have understanding of something, they don't have ambition. It's that they don't have a plan, they don't have a structure within which to work. And the more you learn about the things that you are, the fasting methods that you want to use, the better it is, because then you can understand how it works and how to make it work more successfully for you. And then affirmations. And the affirmations, these are the things that I've been talking about, right? So all the things that we tell ourselves, the places that we find ourselves in terms of our vision, right? So affirmations support the visualization that we do. I am improving my metabolic health. I am reversing my diabetes. I am losing weight. I am going to fit into that dress. I am going to fit into that suit. Whatever the affirmation is, the positive affirmations help you to stay motivated during the fast. And they help you they help to support the vision that you have, because now we're giving the brain additional data, additional fuel for not the inner critic, but for the inner coach, right? Remember, the inner critic and inner coach, they're both in there. And the critic is the one that continually tells us those negative things, those things that, oh, you're not good at that. That never works out. Oh, you never complete anything. Oh, you're never successful at that, right? So that's the inner critic constantly doing that. And the inner coach is the one we want to support, we want to encourage, we want to enhance, and we want to make help us make us successful. Okay, so we're preparing this one. So we're preparing ourselves mentally. We're preparing ourselves mentally, and then nutritional preparation. Nutritional preparation. Now, this is an important one because often people think about the fasting, but they forget about what goes on prior to the fast. So the way you come into a fast affects what goes on in the fast. So if you are coming into a fast with lots of sugary, carbs, highly processed foods in your system, say you've just eaten something that, pasta or cake or candy or cookie or ice cream or whatever it is, right? And your blood sugar is up. And even if your blood sugar is not super high, your body is still processing that. We'll talk about the phases of eating and fasting here in a minute, but your body is still processing that. And that processing requires, in order for that blood sugar to stay normal or for that blood sugar to come down, it requires insulin. And we've talked about where insulin sits. Insulin is an appetite stimulant. So you come out of an eating window into a fasting window, and you have trouble in the fasting window because you just ate some stuff that stimulated insulin, and the insulin is stimulating the appetite. And so until that insulin kind of resolves and your body resolves that issue, you're craving. You're craving food. You're craving sweets. You're not craving broccoli, I'll tell you that. Okay, so coming into the fast, we want to make sure that we're doing nutrition, that we're having good nutrition. So insulin is an appetite stimulant. Insulin also is a storage hormone. So you come into the fast because you're using fasting to lose weight, but you just ate some stuff that stimulated the insulin. The insulin is up, and so now that those calories are being stored much longer and much more easily than they would have if you had come into it with, say, fat or protein. Right? So reducing carbs as you're moving into fasting. Increase healthy fats. That was what we talked about in our last episode, right? How do fats help with satiety and hunger? So increasing the healthy fats help you to stay fuller longer, because fats give off, remember the hormone CCK, cholecystokinin, which slows the GI tract, just like the GLP receptor agonists. Not the same mechanism, but the result is the same, that we're slowing the GI tract. And when we do that, we feel fuller longer, so we don't have as much of a craving. So you come into the fast having minimized your carbs and your sugars. You've eaten some fats, and so the insulin doesn't spike as high, and the fat has also slowed the process, and you don't feel as hungry. See how that works? Isn't that amazing? And then making sure that you are increasing water and electrolytes. Often when we get into a fast, people say they feel lightheaded or dizzy, and they feel lightheaded or dizzy because their fluid volume has dropped. And when they stand up or they move, they feel woozy because the body doesn't have enough volume to pump back to the heart or to the brain. The other thing that happens is they start to feel palpitations, feel like your heart's racing or skipping a beat. And the reason that happens is as the blood volume drops, then around the body, all your tissues, all your organs, they still need the same amount of oxygen. They still need the same amount of nutrients. So how do I get the same amount of oxygen and nutrients to my cells if the blood volume, the transporting mechanism is lower? Well, I just make it go faster, right? Because if I go faster, I can deliver the same amount of oxygen, deliver the same amount of nutrients. But what does that feel like? If I feel my pulse, all of a sudden it feels like I'm going like this. Okay? So making sure that you're getting adequate hydration, very, very important. And that has implications for lots of other things. The other thing that it does is, remember, when we're fasting and we're switching from ketones or carbs to ketones, there are a lot of enzymes that are going on that are being changed, that are being released. There are a lot of hormones that are changing. There are a lot of signals that are going on in the fasting space. How do you think those signals get to where they need to be? Well, they get there through the blood. And if your blood volume is lower, that can impede that. The other thing is, as we're breaking down fat, we're giving off ketones. And there are several kinds of ketones that we're giving off. The one that we like is the beta hydroxybutyrate. But remember, we're also giving off acetone, right? That's another one. And there are other ketones that are given off, and those ketones, which are the bad things, those are the ones that we don't like. They have to be transported to a place where they can be you breathe off the ketones, for example, or get disposed of. And if you're not making sure that you're hydrated, then that could cause problems for the ketone, that process of breaking down fat. The enzymes that are in your body, the proteins that are in your body, they need fluid to be able to help all those mechanisms work. And then, of course, making sure that you are getting good, adequate electrolytes. Okay, so if you've been out sweating, you've been, exercising like crazy, you're out in a hot place, you're in your garden, and you're fasting, you want to make sure that you are preparing by making sure you're replenishing those electrolytes. And then gradually reduce your eating window. A lot of people would jump right into fasting, saying, I'm going to fast for 72 hours, just right off the bat. Well, if you've never fasted, that's probably not the best idea because you may not have a successful fast. So we tell people, so begin with a larger eating window. And then as you get more comfortable and able to do it, then you begin making the eating window smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, right? So for example, if you start with a 12 and 12, so you're eating for 12 hours and you're fasting for 12 hours, great. Then once you're good at that, then let's change that. So now you're going to fast for 14 hours and you're going to eat for 10 hours. And when that's better, then now you're going to fast for 16 hours. And now you're going to eat for 8 hours. And then 18 and 6, 20 and 4, right? And and go from there. So gradually decrease your eating window. And then we just mentioned hydration and electrolytes. So drink plenty of water before the fast begins. This ensures that you're getting adequate fluids. Make sure you're getting enough electrolytes. Once again, if you're out and you're doing stuff outside and you're sweating, and make sure you're getting enough electrolytes. Drink herbal teas, right? So these will help to calm you. They help with the stomach. They will refresh you just as you're getting into the fast. Make sure you are staying hydrated. Okay? And then physical preparation. Physical preparation, very important. If you have been, if you've been working out and you're not doing what's called a fasting workout. In other words, fasting, a lot of people work out specifically when they're fasting because when they fast, the growth hormone goes up, the ketones come out, and the muscles like ketones, and growth hormone helps to stabilize muscles, help to maintain muscles. People get bulked up. So unless you're doing that, then you want to do some light exercises through fasting, right? It does a lot of different things. It helps to distract you, for one. It keeps you busy. It also helps to maintain muscles, right? And it doesn't cause extensive fatigue. So you want to reduce your strenuous exercise 1 to 2 days before you start fasting to avoid the fatigue. And then you want to aim for good quality sleep. And I think I've mentioned resting several times as we've gone through the show, particularly as I was doing my check-in, because if we're not well rested, when we go through the process of transitioning from carbohydrates to ketones, then then you feel that more profoundly, right? It's almost like oh my goodness, what just happened? But that's because we're not rested. And we want to aim for quality sleep. We recommend at least 7 hours of sleep per day. And maybe even more when you're fasting, right? And then reduce caffeine. By reducing your caffeine, you decrease the risk of any of the withdrawal symptoms that come along with that. The other thing you want to do, so we're preparing physically, mentally, you want to prepare your environment. Clear out the temptations. Oh, yeah. Remove unhealthy things. I don't have right now any nuts in my house. Right, they're all gone. As a matter of fact, one day a couple of weeks ago, I had a can that I got it, put it in the trash. It's gone. Because I know me. I know what the process is. If I'm gonna be triggered, right, which I can be, and you guys saw that. We did a show earlier this week. If I can be triggered, if it is very convenient to me, then the likelihood of me eating it goes up. Now, this is not a putting you in a box. This is not scarcity mentality. That's not what I'm talking about. What you need to do is you need to understand who you are and how things affect you. Remember the habits, the heat model, habits, emotions, access, and taste? If it is there, if it's easily accessible, then that HEAT, that becomes a problem. Because you're going to be having emotional issues. You're going to have memories. There are going to be social cues that come up. And if you are triggered and you can't get through the cope model right away, then the natural tendency is as soon as you're triggered, we're going to grab something. And if something is convenient to us, guess what? That's what we're grabbing. So make sure that you are cleaning out your environment. Anticipate things that are going to go on. Create a fasting free zone, a fast friendly zone. Right? Prepare with distractions. Plan some things. Go walking. Get some friends who are going to come over. You guys can go ride your bike. You're going to walk. You're going to something that distracts you from eating. Because if not, then that becomes a big issue. And then emotional preparation, social and emotional preparation. Once again, make sure that you're talking to family. Make sure you're talking to friends, particularly if you're doing an extended fast, so that they don't plan things during the time when you're fasting. Because we are social creatures. If it's making a decision between hanging out with friends and being included, or feeling like an outcast, or feeling like an outsider and fasting, the choice that we often are going to make is the choice to eat. And then we get into the spiral. Inner critic. Oh, you broke the fast. Oh, you can't be successful. Oh, you are such a bad person. And what do we do when we feel like our bad person? Remember the second component of the heat model, emotions. We feel bad and we eat, we buffer to soothe ourselves. And so we get through that spiral. Okay. And then identify your emotional triggers. What are the things that trigger you? And then make a plan for how you deal with those. And as we are going through New Year, New You, we are learning. I'm learning. You should be learning how to manage those emotional triggers. So notice, we're not just saying, oh, just find a way to deal with the emotional triggers, and every time we're going to have to go through that process. We also need to be working on, okay, why is that a trigger for me? And is there a way for me to minimize that or get rid of that trigger? Yes, let's deal with it right now. COPE model, COPE, clarify, observe, pause, execute. Yes, let's deal with it because we have a mechanism now. But okay, let's also identify. Let's get into the trigger itself. Let's become emotionally intelligent. Okay? And then create accountability. Join a fasting process. Join a fasting group. Join a community. Look at this, y'all. Join a community. Right? Join a fasting community where you can be encouraged. One of the things I love about communities, and this, when you're around people who are in recovery, one of the things that you'll hear them say sometimes is that I don't have to explain when I tell a story. When I say, man, last night I was on the way home and this guy over at FedEx did this, he was just not very nice. And I went and I found myself eating chicken wings and fries. The people who are in the space, You don't have to explain that because they get it. They understand. That's the power of a group. And the power of a group is that the group gets to pull you along. Sometimes they push you along. Sometimes they carry you along. Sometimes they put on a steel boot and give you a swift kick in the butt. But the group is amazing in its ability to motivate and to keep you accountable and to keep you going. That's the power of the group. So, takeaways. Takeaways for preparing. Get lots of rest, stay hydrated, reduce stress, eat nutrient-dense meals. So I've had a lot of people ask me about preparing. So I wanted to spend some more time today just going through that process of preparing. And as we talked about, and let me just hop over and say hi to a couple of people. I see. So Steve says 1.7. That's my ketones. Hello, Jennifer. Carrie. Hello. Hey, Carrie. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And Jennifer's saying hello to Carrie. Welcome to the community. Hey, if you have questions, just pop those in. Make sure you put a Q in front of it so I know that that's a question. We're just going through our fasting right now. Just going through the process of preparing for the fast. And then, of course, we're going to hop over right now and talk about how do we fast successfully and the things that go on in our bodies. Awesome. Let's get back over here. There we go. All right. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the next phase. And so remember, we talked about preparing for the fast, successfully getting through the fast, and then breaking the fast. So how do we successfully get through the fast? And I typically break that up into 24-hour periods, but we're going to spend some time now going through it in a little bit more finer detail. We're going to talk about fasting over the first 6 hours, and then the next 6 hours, the next 6 hours, and so forth. So let's go ahead and let's pop over and let's do that right now. So when we're talking about fasting, the period right after you fast is called the postprandial period. This is when the body is breaking down the food. It's absorbing the food. The glucose can still be high because you just ate something that has carbs, or even if you didn't eat something that has lots of carbs, the blood sugar is higher than it was. The insulin is higher. Your energy levels are higher because you have all those calories, all that energy that just came from the food that you're eating. Okay, so this is the immediate postprandial period, the 0 to 6 hour period. There aren't a lot of ketones. Energy levels are high. Digestive enzymes are there. This is where if you've eaten protein and if you've eaten fat, then this process is delayed, right? So you feel fuller longer. That's why it's important to eat those fats and those proteins, because protein gives off peptide YY, makes you think you're fuller, and fats give off the CCK, or help produce the CCK, which helps you think you're fuller longer. Okay? So first 6 hours, that's postprandial. Then the next 6 hours, 6 to 12 hours, now we're talking about the early state of fasting. Insulin levels are starting to decrease. Glucagon levels are starting to increase, because remember, insulin and glucagon go in opposite directions. Okay? So insulin is up when your blood sugars are high, when food is there. And as the food goes down, insulin goes down, then glucagon comes out, because glucagon is saying to the body, hey, that stuff that you stored in the liver, particularly, bring that out. So it's not quite going to fat yet. It's still, right, those first 24 hours, we're talking about burning up the calories, the energy that's in our liver. So it takes about 24 hours. Some people say 36 hours, 24 to 36 hours for the glycogen in your liver to be depleted. And gluconeogenesis is happening because the body now, it's used the stuff that's floating around in your blood, the sugar, it's gone now to the liver and saying, hey, give me some of that stored stuff you have in the liver, right? So that's being broken down. And it's not until that's gone that then the body turns over to burning fat. Okay? So in this process, energy levels are starting to fluctuate as the body is beginning to think about transitioning, right? Using circulating glucose and glucose from the liver, right? That breakdown. Then the next 12 hours, so 6 hours, 12 to 18 hours, is transitioning to using fat. Transitioning to using fat. So in this state, glucose levels are continuing to go down, insulin levels are continuing to go down, and we're starting to now have increased fatty acid release from fat stores. So we've used up all the circulating sugar. The body has gone to the liver and says, hey, liver, give me some of the stored sugar that you have there, that glycogen. So glycogenolysis is breaking that down. And now that we're getting to the end of that, the body is now looking to fat cells and say, hey, I need some of that stuff right there. Okay? And this is where people sometimes may feel a dip in energy because the body is starting to go through that process. And if you have not rested well, this is more pronounced. And people feel irritable. They get headaches, right? Because we're shifting in this space right here. And then if we go from 18 to 24 hours, ketosis is beginning. Well, it's begun, but ketosis is, it's really starting to go now, right? So glycogen stores are nearly depleted, and this leads to increased ketones as the liver is now metabolizing other sources of fat to give us ketones, to give us another energy. This is kind of like going from in a hybrid car using gas to the battery. So we've gone from glucose and we're now using ketones, right? Autophagy is beginning in this space. Remember, autophagy is that process the body uses to recycle, right? It's starting to clean up, is going out and is breaking down unused cells, is taking those and sending them off to recycling center and bringing them back as better versions of themselves or for other substances to repair parts of the body. Love it. This is where people talk about the improvement in cancer, the improvement in neurodegenerative diseases, improvement in neuropathy, improvement in immunity, improvement in inflammation, right? Because the body, the autophagy is getting out there and doing what it needs to do. And then the energy levels, right? The energy levels, I shouldn't say energy level, but the initial stages of mental clarity are beginning here. Because remember, ketones, right, the one that we like is beta hydroxybutyrate. And so now that ketones are coming in full, right? So the brain is saying, "Oh, look at this. I love this. Give me that stuff." And I always say it's kind of like in the Marvel movies when Tony Stark gets that nuke arc reactor and he takes the old one out and he puts the new one in, he screws it in, and he's just like, "Oh my God, look at the energy that I'm getting." That's what you get when you go from glucose to ketones. Okay. All right, and then so that's 18 to 24 hours, and then 24 to 30 hours fat adaptation. So significant increases are now in ketones. We have a decreased reliance on gluconeogenesis, so we're like, okay, yeah, we don't even need that anymore. Give me this stuff. Right, because the body has a source that's going there. And they say, right, that most people have about 100,000 calories in stored excess energy. 100,000 calories. Yep. So fat's being broken down. Fat oxidation is happening. Ketones are coming out, being converted. Energy levels are stabilizing because now we've tapped into a more stable, a cleaner source of energy, and we're not getting those fluctuations like we get with glucose. Because remember, glucose fluctuates very significantly based on what's going on, how much you need to use. But ketones, once the ketones are there, that's constant source. Hunger begins to go away, or hunger goes away, because look at this, right? So we've talked about 3 of them now. So number 1, we've got ketones. We said ketones suppress appetite. We've had proteins, if we've done that. So proteins have kept us fuller longer. If we've eaten fatty foods, good fats, then we're feeling fuller longer. And so all of those combine now to help us with our hunger. So that's beautiful. That's the beautiful, beautiful part of that. And then just like we get prepared for the fast, we get into the fast successfully. By the way, as we're doing the fasting, we want to make sure that we are resting, make sure that we are hydrating, and make sure that we're not dealing with a whole lot of excess stress, right? So always want to make sure that those things are going on. And just like we do that, we want to break the fast as well. And breaking the fast just as important. When we're breaking the fast, some key points that I want to say. Number one, you want to make sure that you are monitoring your blood sugar. Because you want to know what the blood sugar is doing in response to the foods you're eating, in response to the activities that you're having. If we don't do a good job of breaking the fast, we can undo a lot of things that we did in the fast. Portion control. Make sure that you are watching the portions, because sometimes we figure because we fasted, because we have gone through the process, then now we can just eat whatever we want as much as we want. And the answer is no, you can't. We still want to be controlled. Okay? And then eat slowly. If you eat slowly, then you tend not to eat as much. When you rush through it, when you just gobble it up, then you're not savoring the food, you're not experiencing it, you're not enjoying it, and the body, the brain says, give me more. Keep giving me more until I am satisfied. But if you stay there and you savor it, you're mindful in your eating, that sets you up for success. And then, of course, avoid sugary processed foods as the first thing that you eat. One of the points I made is that we should, when you first finish eating, when you first breaking the fast, broths, we'll talk about it in a minute, and then protein and fat is where you probably need to come down. That's where you need to land in your beginning the post-fast phase. Okay? All right. And then hydration, right? Hydration to begin the fast, hydration during the fast, and then as you get to the end of the fast, coming into the breaking period, you want to make sure you're hydrating as well, because once again, that sets you up for success. So water, great. Unsweetened coconut water, great. Herbal teas, once again, they can calm you. They can help with the GI system as you are now reintroducing food to your system. They can help as well. And then proteins, as we mentioned continually, that proteins help to keep us satiated. When we eat proteins, it gives off that protein YY. And that sends a signal of fullness to the brain, so we eat less. So things like eggs, chicken, turkey breast, tofu, tempeh, all of those are good options for protein. And then, of course, have healthy fats, right? Avocados, we talked about, rich in monosaturated fats and fiber, right? Helpful for blood sugar control. Nuts, right? Particularly almonds, walnuts, almonds right there, the very first one, right? That's my thing. And then seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds, all have omega-3 fatty acids and fiber, which is good for our health. So for the broths, vegetable broth's good. So a nutrient-rich option that provides minerals and hydration without added fats or carbohydrates. And then, of course, bone broth. Right, bone broth, very good. If you're vegetarian, then of course the vegetable, or if you're vegan, that would be a great place for you to be doing, or a great thing for you to be doing. So when we talk about fasting or breaking the fast, you want to choose foods that help to maintain stable blood sugar, that are nutrient dense, that are gentle on the digestive system. And when we say in terms of food, we want to look at low glycemic foods, lean protein, healthy fats, and hydration. This is a great place, though, to introduce or to talk about balanced bites, because balanced bites really are what we're talking about here, right? So what are balanced bites? These are the fuels for your body. Remember, everything counts. Every bite counts. We're fueling our body with balanced bites. And balanced bites, these are whole foods that minimize processing, no added sugar, lean protein, and healthy fats. starchy and some non-starchy vegetables, tasty, flavorful, and then portion control. If you're doing that, that falls right in line with what we talk about when we talk about breaking the fast. Amazing, amazing. All right, let's hop over and let's see. We've got some comments that I saw there. So let's go back over here and scroll up. Carrie said, hi, Jennifer. So this is a fasting community, like weekly. So very good, Carrie. So we are in the process of going through fasting. Yeah, we fast on a weekly basis. And every week we come on and we do these check-ins. Okay, so if you go back, I don't know how many shows we've done now over the course of our fasting. And so every Friday we do a complete review of fasting on Wednesday and Thursday, because I do a 72-hour fast. Wednesday and Thursday we do different conversations, different fasting facets, different tools. But yes, we're fasting. It is a tool that we're using to improve our metabolic health, right? So diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, coronary artery disease, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and you'll see those there at the bottom. And that's just a small smattering of things that fasting helps to improve. Okay, so great question, Carrie. I said my first time fasting for 72 hours, I broke it with like honey buns. I didn't know what I was doing. I love that. Yeah. So yeah, if we're not careful, and this is what I say, Carrie. So thanks for pointing that out, by the way. I tell people that the thing that you break the fast with is likely the types of things you're going to eat for the next 24, 36 hours. Because remember, when the blood sugars spike because of the honey buns, for example, insulin comes out, and insulin will make you eat. Insulin is an appetite stimulant. Insulin will make you put on weight. Okay? So Carrie said, this is good. So my wife and I, Steve is saying, my wife and I do at least a 23-1 week every day. Sometimes I do a 30-hour. Yeah. Carrie said, Doc Wood fasts weekly. At this time, I fast once a month. Yeah, so Teresa, I love, not Teresa, Jennifer. I love that. And that is very good, because I want people to understand that it's a tool that you could tailor for your life. You tailor it for what the things are that you're doing. And I think, Jennifer, you were mentioning, was it yesterday or the day before, was one of those days, and that you were going to be starting a fast to rectify or to get back into that. And that is what I want everyone to understand. You have the control in how you apply this, but it is an amazing tool to be able to use, right? It's kind of like having a hammer in your toolbox, and a nail comes out of the wall, and you take a screwdriver and try to hit it in. No, use the tool that works. Use the tool that is designed for. So fasting is one of those fascinating tools. Jennifer said, this is a great channel to learn about fasting, how to fast, what our bodies are doing, and the mental side of fasting. It also includes the why and what it does for us. Yes, Jennifer, thank you for that. Those honey buns must have done a number on you. And then Jennifer said, I intermittent fast nearly daily with a longer fast, at least monthly, I think is what you're saying, using this as an assist to lose weight. 93 pounds so far. Yes, Jennifer. Love it. And Jennifer, I'm coming back to you in a minute. But Carrie, let me come back to you and let me give you a hand clap for the 72 hours that you did do. Okay? Because that is amazing to have done that. And so setting yourself up for even better success, understanding how the body works, how to fast, how to prepare, how to break the fast, that just sets you up for even greater success into the future. And then Jennifer, yes, congratulations, 93 pounds so far. I love that. I love it. Okay. All right. So remember, as we are moving through the space, there are lots of things that will push us off of our eating plan, push us off of our decisions, and those are the food triggers that we will run into. The habits that we have, the emotions, the access, and the taste. The habits, those routines that we have where we just eat, not because we're hungry, but we eat because everybody else is eating. We eat because it's lunchtime. We see those social cues. We go to the movies and we eat popcorn because that's what we do. Somebody comes over to visit and we have coffee and muffin. Somebody say, "Hey, let's go hang out. Let's go our men's group or our women's group or our support group, whatever it is, and let's go eat." Okay, so habits, emotions. When your emotions get high enough, when they get strong enough, they will push through the decisions that you've made. It's kind of like a roller coaster. When that car gets to the top, you can yell, jump, scream, whatever you want, but the car is coming down the other side. So the goal for our emotions, it's not that we should not feel emotions, but what do we do when we get those emotions? How do we manage them? And that's what we talk about when we talk about the COPE model. Clarify, observe, pause, and execute, right? Emotions. And then access. The things around us, if they are there, we eat them. Because the emotions push us, and if it's very convenient, we grab it. So the best thing is not to have it around. We eat because of habits, emotions, access, and we eat because of taste. The perfect combination of sugar, salt, and fat. When we eat it, we just can't have one, and we want to have more. But remember, we're not chasing the food. We're chasing the thought of the food. We're chasing the feeling that the food gives us. We're chasing the memory that the food brings back of that time when we ate that food and we had that thing and we were with that person and we felt that way, right? All of that. Habits, emotions, access, and taste. But remember, you have unlimited potential to chart the future of your destiny. The health future is yours. It's within your hands. You have the potential, and we are able to tap into that potential with our triple E formula for success. Our encouragement, our education, our encouragement, and our empowerment. Right? We educate with the blog, with the shows, with the podcast. We empower with the tools that we learn, the check-ins, the challenges that we do monthly. And we encourage with the community that we're a part of. We have our community meetup coming up on this Thursday. If you've not done so, make sure you get out there and make sure that you sign up for that. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and pop that into the chat right now while I'm on that. So that is the link for the community meetup. That is Thursday at 7 p.m. Okay, so we encourage, we empower, we encourage, and we educate. That is the triple E formula for success. That's how we do it. And then the pillars for reversing diabetes, decreasing insulin, suppressing appetite, and reduce sugar. Fasting hits all of those, all three pillars. So does the balanced bites, because we're fueling our bodies with balanced bites. Those things, they hit all three of those. And when you come, I want to make sure that you know that you have to jump in, right? Don't be a stranger. Join the challenges. Every time you do one, you're getting stronger and stronger in your ability to improve your health metabolically. When you come, tell your story. Share where you are. Let us know what successes you're having. Jennifer says she's lost 93 pounds and still going, right? Steve is fasting. Him and his wife are fasting. Other people in the community are having success in what they do. Share those, because when we see that, we know that if you can do it, we can do it as well. If you're having struggles, if you're having challenges, we get to rally around you. You get to rally around us with our struggles, and we know that we're not alone. And then tell somebody that this is a space where they can be metabolically healthy. This is a space where there's no judgment, where there's encouragement, when there's education, and there's empowerment. Send them a link and say, come on, let's go together. Let's do it. There are over 1 billion people on the planet that have diabetes or pre-diabetes. You can be the voice of change in your community, in your space. Awesome. All right, so let's hop over now and let's look at what my ketones are. So Steve, I think you said 1.7. Is that what you said? 1.7? 1.6, I think. Let me go back up here somewhere. Where's Steve? Where's Steve? Where's Steve? Steve said 1.7. All right. So let's go ahead and let's get my Keto Mojo app. And so last night blood sugar was 90 and my ketones were 1.5. Let's go ahead and turn this on and let's sync. Let's sync it. Let's sync it. Let's sync it. And drum roll, please. Drum roll, drum roll. And so my ketones are 1.3. So blood sugar was 75, ketones of 1.3. So when we talk about ketones that are less than 0.5 are considered normal. 0.5 to 1.5 are considered nutritional ketosis. And then above that is considered therapeutic ketosis. And so right now I'm in the nutritional space. When we talk about ketogenic diets and what people are doing for ketosis, we want 0.5 or higher, because that means that our body's in the process of burning sugar, converted to ketones, and that's what we use. And not sugar, fat. We get the weight loss. We get the improved insulin sensitivity. We get the improvement in decreasing our insulin, suppressing the appetite, and all those things that we talk about that are downstream. We get those there. If we look at the actual graphs, the tan line, that's blood sugar, and the turquoise line, those are ketones. So as my blood sugar went up when I started eating after fasting last week, you'll know that the ketones went down. So as sugar goes up, ketones go down. And then as I started fasting this week, the blood sugars started coming down, and then the ketones, the turquoise line, is going up. Remember, ketones and insulin can't be in the same space. So as my blood sugar goes up and insulin goes up, then my ketones go away because the insulin is there, right? It's kind of like matter and antimatter. It's kind of like when they tell you in those sci-fi movies, they say, hey, if you go back in time, don't interact with yourself, right? Because you can cause all kinds of craziness. All right. Well, as always, I'm happy that I get to hang out with you. Steve says, have to pick up the grandsons. Have a great weekend. Take care, Steve. Carrie said, hi. Yup, at those honey buns, Jennifer. I love that. So as I say, glad that you guys got to come through and hang out with me. Carrie, thank you for coming through and welcome to the community. Make sure you kind of get in there and join us for our meetup 7 p.m. Central on this Thursday. We had to move it 1 week up because Thanksgiving is coming up the next week. But we usually do that on the fourth Thursday of the month at 7 o'clock, where we get to come, we get to see each other, we get to ask specific questions about our situation, and really kind of support each other as we move through this process, as we go on this journey. Okay? Well, that being said, thank you for joining me. Tomorrow at 9 p.m. Central will be a video from the vault. On Sunday, This Week in Review at 6 a.m. Central. And then on Monday, we'll be right back here for Dwain Woode MD Live as we talk about the mindset we need to have as we move into those special days, those holidays, those days when food is all around. What are we going to do? Make sure you join us. Hey, this is Dr. Dwain Woode. That's Wood with an E. The E stands for endocrinology. Here, I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health and your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. And in this year, new you. Goodbye. We'll see you at our next episode, our next show. Bye-bye.